Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Morning, St. Philip's. Good morning. What you believe informs how you live. You'll hear that a few times this morning. Our gospel today began with these two words, some Sadducees. And then the gospel immediately goes on to explain that the Sadducees are those who don't believe in the resurrection. So to me, the natural question or statement would be, well, what do they believe? The Sadducees were the upper crust of Jewish society. They were unlike the Pharisees. The Pharisees, their entire life, their religion was wrapped around the law. The 613 interpretive commandments that they had that helped them keep the 10 commandments, which was really summarized into the greatest commandment and the second that is like unto it. The Sadducees weren't concerned about any of that. The Sadducees also really didn't care about who the ruling body was, whether it was Herod or Pontius Pilate or Rome. It just didn't matter to them. The Sadducees only cared about, with respect to the ruling body, that they were allowed to maintain their status and their wealth. And what you believe informs how you live. The Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection. They claimed that they couldn't find such teaching in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. So they lived their life after the belief they had. And that belief is this. This is life. There is no resurrection. You're on this earth for just a certain number of years, and it's up to you to obtain status and comfort. What you believe informs how you live. So the Sadducees fashioned their daily lives to fulfill that belief. That belief that they needed to get status, accumulate wealth, and get comfort. That's what life is for. That's why we're put here on this earth. And what you believe informs how you live. On numerous occasions, we read in the gospel accounts of Jesus interacting with folks. And the subject of the greatest commandment comes up. And the answer is always the same in all the accounts. The greatest commandment is this. You shall love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your heart, and with all your strength. And the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And the Sadducees bought into this. They believed these 2 commandments were the greatest. They just redefined the term neighbor. For the Sadducee, who didn't believe in the resurrection, who believed that your reward came now, who pursued status and comfort, they had a very narrow definition of neighbor. For the Sadducee, neighbor was strictly family. Only family. Not the poor, nor the needy, nor the alien, nor the orphan. The Sadducees acknowledged that these people existed, but God created them, and therefore it's God's business to take care of them. Or it's their family's business to take care of them. And the Sadducees had their own family to take care of. And what you believe informs how you live. So today in the gospel account, the Sadducees come to stump Jesus. Oh, Master, tell us, if a woman marries and has no children and the husband dies, and then marries the brother of her first husband and has no children and that brother dies, and this goes on 7 times, which in Hebrew understanding is the perfect number, the complete number. Well, in this resurrection of yours, this eternal life, whose wife is she going to be? And remember, what you believe informs how you live. And so Jesus takes on this question head on. He addresses this misguided belief, this shallow and empty teaching that there is no resurrection or eternal life. The first thing Jesus does is address the reality of an afterlife. He says, basically in my language, you got it all wrong. You couldn't have got it any more wrong. Don't be so small-minded as to compare this life with the afterlife. In essence, Jesus is saying, don't be so limited in your understanding of life in heaven by comparing it with life on earth. Life on earth here is a poor reflection of what it's like in heaven. Marriage is a wonderful gift. It's a gift from God. It's instituted by God. But marriage is only a foreshadow of how life and love will be in heaven among all God's children. Our life on earth is as comparable to heaven as our life in the womb is comparable to life on earth. Let me say that again. Our life on earth is as comparable to our life in heaven as our life in the womb is comparable to our current life on earth. Our life in the womb was dark, confined, limited, and isolated. And then without any understanding of what was going to happen, suddenly we went from all that to bright lights, noise, people. We come into this world crying because of all this. It's such a shock. And I will tell you that I've been with folks in their final days and final hours and final moments. And when that time comes, there's often a smile. Not screaming, not crying. Something far better awaits us. That's what Jesus was saying. Life in heaven is going to be like nothing you can even imagine. It will be so different from what you're experiencing. Don't try to compare this to what will be. Then Jesus addresses the resurrection. Now remember, the Sadducees don't accept this teaching. They don't think the Torah teaches the resurrection, so Jesus points it out to them. They're concerned, the Sadducees are concerned with the here and the now, with status and personal comfort. And what you believe informs how you live. And so Jesus takes them to task. Again, in my language, he's saying to them, you don't even know your own Torah. What did God say to Moses at the burning bush? God said, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am, not I was. It's current. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob stand before God and are alive even now. God is not the God of the dead. God is the God of the living. And there is life after this life. And then, the only way that I can hear Jesus talking to them, he says, and you better get yourself sorted out, because you've got it all wrong. And what you believe informs how you live. That was 2,000 years ago. So what about us? What do we believe? And how does that inform how we live? Do we believe? Do I believe? Do you believe? I mean, really believe. Do you believe God like you believe the seasons are going to change and come and go? Do you believe God like you believe the sun will set tonight and rise again in the morning? Because what you believe informs how you live. In the Apostles' Creed, our baptismal creed, we declare belief in God, in eternal life, and in the resurrection. And what we believe informs how we live. In the Nicene Creed, our Eucharistic Creed, the creed we will shortly say together, we will declare a belief in God, in the resurrection of the dead and life to come. What you believe informs how you live. Do we believe? In the Catechism, we declare belief in God. We believe in the resurrection. We believe in eternal life. And what we believe informs how we live. Do we believe? In the Gospels, Jesus defines who a neighbor is for us. in the parable of the Good Samaritan. And what you believe informs how you live. Do we believe? The Sadducees' belief was limited. It was basically self-serving, short-sighted. Jesus opened their eyes to the reality of the resurrection, eternal life. And this morning, the gospel presents us with a choice to make. Do we believe Jesus, or do we believe the Sadducees? Do we believe in eternal life, in the resurrection, or do we really only believe in the here and the now? In the need to comfort and take care of ourselves, like the Sadducees? Do we believe in a broad and inclusive sense of neighbor and compassion and service? Or do we have a much smaller definition of who neighbor is, as those who somehow must earn our compassion and our help? Because what we believe informs how we live. And at the end of the day, at the end of this sermon, at the end of this service, each of us has a question that only individually we can answer, and that is this: what and who do I believe?